we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we record this podcast, the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Hi and welcome to Boldly Me. I'm Chloé Hayden and I'm an actor, author, disability activist and motivational speaker. In this podcast, I'll be chatting to people who are living boldly and are unapologetically themselves. This is the last episode for the first season of Boldly Me. It has been so exciting. It has been such a whirlwind. It has been such a roller coaster ride. I remember on my first episode that I was recording, I think I told you guys, I was so stressed, I was so nervous, I was so scared, I was so embarrassed because I was like, I don't know how to talk to people, I don't know how to make conversations, I don't know how to make small talk, and it's been really good and everyone's been so nice and so lovely, and the response from all of you guys have been so incredible. Everyone that's been listening and tuning in has been so sweet and so lovely and has made this such a wonderful experience. And I think I've gained a new eye sparkle, which is really fun and really exciting and really cool. So now I love being a podcast host. Heck yeah. Today, for our last episode of season 1, I am going to be talking to Matt Hay, who you might know better as All Right Hay. Matt is a comedian, podcaster, and content creator who's been entertaining audiences online since 2015. Matt was in season 9 of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and has performed sellout runs at the Sydney Comedy Festival. He's also a fashion icon and has a brand new podcast here at Nova with Brittany Saunders called High Scrollers. He joins me now. Matt, hello.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I'm so excited too. I'm so excited to talk to you. I have so many questions.
I know, we're both such high energy.
I know, I love it.
Quite a high, because I've listened to a few of the episodes. I love the one you did with Clem, and I felt like it was very not low energy, but it was just very
chill vibes.
And I'm like, babe, I'm anything but chill. So.
No, I'm the exact same. No, I got it. We're on the same wavelength. It's okay. We're good. Before we start the proper question thing, I would love to ask you what you're currently hyperfixating on. It could be a person, a thing, a movie, a song. What's your thing?
Well, of course it's got to do with food.
Oh, slay. What is it?
I'm always hyperfixating on food, but at the moment, this is so random, but Mission, like the Mission wrap brand, has these wraps and they're butter flavored wraps, right? And okay. I am not kidding. I'm having way too many every day. I've figured out how to incorporate it. These wraps, they're little tortillas and they're butter flavored, and so I've been having it in the morning with bacon and eggs, and then I make a little bacon egg burrito, and then I have it for lunch and I'll put chicken and salad on it and have a Caesar wrap, and then I'll have it for dinner and I'll put mince and cheese on it, and suddenly it's a Philly cheese-steak.
Impeccable.
So I'm just trying to incorporate it. I've been making quesadillas.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner and snack, babe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, tell us about your high school days. You are so confident and so bold now. Were you always like this?
I feel yes and no. I feel when I was really young, I was really bold. And I actually went to a primary school to begin with. I went to 2 primary schools. So from kinder to year 2, I was in one. And then from year 3 to 6, I was in another. And they were just 2 schools that were at total opposite ends of the spectrum. And the first school that I went to, my dad's a school principal, so that's why I kind of changed. So the first one that I went to was way out of my area, quite an affluent suburb, quite nice houses, and everybody was quite pristine and gorgeous and wonderful. And that school for me, I actually don't ever remember there being any school bullies. And I didn't know really what bullying was. I mean, obviously so young, but there was just no one picking on each other. It was just very nice. It was almost like a weird cult. We're all just really friendly with each other. It was strange. And so then when I moved in year 3, I then moved to a school that was closer to home, and it was a bit less affluent, and we had a very different socioeconomic demographic, I guess. And suddenly I was experiencing school bullies for the first time, and that really made me withdraw as this bold human that I was to begin with. And then throughout all of high school, I feel like I was not really bold. I was doing bold things, like I was still being myself. I was still doing, the school musical and things like that. And I kind of didn't care what people thought, but I also really cared what people thought. I kind of tried to like stay out of people's way a little bit. Like I was like in the library with the like Bible people, what do you call them? Like the religious people in the library studying the Bible. I was just sitting there, not studying the Bible, but just in a safe space. You know what I mean? Like it's funny, we have all these like, queer safe spaces these days. Like my safe space was, funnily enough, the library with people who were reading the Bible, which is just like wild to look back on now. But that's what helped me at the time, and that's where I sat. And I feel like I shape-shifted in high school. I feel like 1 month I was hanging out with one group of friends, and in fact, for me, I feel I almost was friends with everybody in my year at one point or another, except for the really awful people who didn't like me. But I was kind of going from friend group to friend group to friend group to find where I fit in, and I never found anyone that I fit in with 100%. I had two main friend groups. One was like a bunch of guys who have now all come out as gay, but they weren't out as gay in high school, and I was. And so I didn't feel like I fit in there because I didn't think they were gay at the time. Well, I mean, I had an inkling, but, we didn't know at the time. And then I also like kind of hung out with like the popular girls who had a reputation for being like hot and bitchy and whatever. And I felt I didn't really fit in there either because I wasn't hot and bitchy. I was just like trying to be hot and bitchy, but it was all like tragic, you know what I mean? So I actually didn't find myself and like really step into like being who I was until I left high school and actually experienced the world and actually got off the Central Coast. Because like you, I'm not from a small country town, but the Central Coast is definitely not a big city or anything like that. And so, it was after high school. And that's why like a lot of my message is like, just get through high school and see what actually there is out there in life, because there's actually this whole world, and your life can and will change if you can just kind of make it through and fizzle out all the bullshit and just, get through it.
100%. I remember mainly in primary school, I had a really shitty school experience, but I remember I had so many teachers. I had like the counselors, I had the principals, I had everyone saying to me like, oh, if you think this is bad, wait until you get into the real world. Like school is so easy compared to what it's going to be like, which quite frankly is bullshit. Like I went to like a dozen different schools, and every single one of them was the same and had more or less similar people in similar situations. I ended up always being the butt of the joke in every single one of them, and I always had the teachers saying like, oh yeah, life is going to just get worse, but that's not how it works. You, especially for people who are so sparkly and are so bright and don't fit into this curriculum that we've created, and whether that's because of, being queer, or because of being disabled, or because of just simply not fitting this really tiny system that we've made. And then we step out and we find our own people, and we find our own groups, and we find our own friendships in places that you can't find that easily in school. And we go, oh, okay, I'm allowed to exist as who I am. And it's such a magical feeling.
Yeah, and that's why safe spaces are so important.
Important.
I recently went back to my old high school where I had some of like the worst days of my life. I really didn't enjoy high school, and as you just heard, just felt like I didn't fit in. So I went back and was invited back to talk to the group of students who they actually call it Rainbow Club, which is just run by two or three fabulous teachers who just open up their classroom to queer or really anyone who needs a safe space at lunchtime. And so I went into this room where, back in high school, like I was the only gay person and there was no other sexualities. Like no one was out, no one was doing anything. Like I was the only gay in the village, really. And I walked into this room expecting like 5 kids, and there were like probably 60 kids in there, all with different makeup. And I mean, trans kids and like gay kids, and everyone on the queer spectrum was in that room. And it blew my mind that like, that was, first of all, happening at my old high school. I was like, wow, 10 years, like how times have changed. But second of all, I left really emotional because I was like, this is actually what we mean when we say we need safe spaces. Like it's not about trying to make everyone queer. It's about giving the people who are queer a place where they just feel comfortable. Because in high school, I went to my safe space, which still really wasn't safe because we were all reading the Bible. You know what I mean? So that's why they're so important.
Yeah, 100%. I think I also find that so interesting. I wanted to be a research paper done on like how many kids that struggled at school had the library as their safe space, because that was my safe space. That was the only place I was safe in school.
Yeah.
Growing up, was there anyone that you looked up to as a queer kid in school? Was there anyone that you looked up to, whether in your own personal life or in the media? Was there anyone that you could look to and go, okay, yeah, I see myself in this person?
Funnily enough, I know this is a controversial answer these days, but back when I was in high school, I mean, they were still pretty controversial, but Jeffree Star, which is really random to like throw out that name in this one. Look,
I haven't heard that name in so long. I used to have all of his makeup products.
Yeah, all the makeup. Like before that, like I loved him because of his music and his like,
oh my God,
just the attitude of like, he had a lot of haters online, and like this is back in the MySpace days. I don't remember honestly having really anyone inspire me kind of like up until high school. Can't really remember that. And then there were two. There was Jeffree Star and the other is Lady Gaga. Now, Jeffree Star no longer really inspires me at all. And it didn't take long for that to kind of fizzle out. But I do acknowledge that he definitely had like a big impact on me because I was like, wow, look at this person living authentically. Like, and then Lady Gaga came along and of course that changed my life because that was the first time I'd actually ever heard anyone say things like, you can be who you want, you can look how you want, you can do what you want. And it doesn't matter how big or small or weird or crazy you are, like, I love you and all of that. And so, I mean, that's how she grew such a big fan base because it was people like me. It was the outcasts that were like, oh my gosh, we're all coming together. And I remember going to her like first concert when she brought it out here and like just walking into the room and again it being a safe space like of people who we were all the same but also different. And so and then of course her fashion and her music and everything inspired me. And so I would say like throughout my life I've carried my icon, my influence, my style. It's Lady Gaga for me.
I love that. Did making content online help you find your space and your people?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And I feel really proud to have curated my audience and the community that I have. Like, I feel like I'm really lucky these days is I kind of like don't really get much hate online or anything like that because unless a video goes really viral and then people just say stupid things like gay.
Honestly, going viral is the worst thing that can happen. Honestly.
I talk about this all the time. It's like everyone thinks that going viral is going to be the best thing ever.
Going viral is the worst.
Horrifying.
It's so scary, especially on TikTok. TikTok is awful.
I actually just will post it, see that it's got 1 million views, and I'll throw my phone and be like, well, I'm off socials for 3 days. It just reaches the wrong audience. But when, luckily, these days on social media apps don't like to push your socials to even your audience in the first place, let alone anyone else. So the audience that I do have and the community that is like seeing
your
me.
Community.
I've fostered them. Look, I have like a not afraid to block policy. Like if you do come on my page, this is my page. It's like that example where it's like you wouldn't go into someone's house and say, hey, you're a like you wouldn't just walk into someone's house and do that. Like my page is my, again, safe space. So if you're coming on my page, like I'm not afraid to block, delete and let you go. I don't need you as a follower, babe. I'm doing great without you. Like see you later.
So true.
I've always had that mentality of like, reflect the haters. Like just if they come on my page, see ya later. I don't have time for you. I'm winning without you, darling, Which
also is going to show the audience that you have that they're allowed to do the same thing and that they do have autonomy over themselves. The amount of people that I've seen, like sometimes it's depending on who the comment is and what they're saying. Sometimes I'm like, I just don't care. I'm just going to leave you because I'm not going to give you more fire because you're not even deserving of that. But other times I'm like, actually, no, this is something that I want to respond to and want to talk about because it happens all the time and I want to make sure that I, give this the comment that I think it deserves. And when I'm able to speak out about people that are saying nasty things to me and actually able to give my own side on the situation, then being able to see the people that follow me and have them realize, oh, I have a voice too and I have autonomy and I'm also allowed to speak up when people are saying shit things to me is actually a really beautiful thing. The amount of people now, because of your policy and you being able to say, actually, you're not allowed to say that to me and you're being a bad person to me right now and I'm going to call you out for being a bad person, then means that other people that might not have otherwise had the ability to feel like they have that voice too means that they now can.
Yeah. And as well, I feel like we've come so far with social apps providing tools for us to use. I think Instagram probably does it the best is like, you know, they just released as well that we can now hide comments. So if someone comments and we can hide it so no one else sees it, but they don't think we've deleted it. So then they don't get angry. And you can restrict people so people can still comment on your post, but no one else will ever see their comments. So if they are saying, because, you know, like, yeah, I mean, I am ready to block if you're really not being nice, but if you're saying things repeatedly that just like are a little bit silly, like I'll restrict you. There's so many people. If you're listening to the podcast, you're probably bloody restricted already, doll. Sorry.
Your sense of fashion and style is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Of course. Has exploring and experimenting with your fashion helped you to find your true self?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, yes, 100%. I definitely have a lot of eras. I could probably do a Taylor Swift eras tour as well.
Oh my
because
God, me. Yes.
I get hyper fixated on clothes. Right now I'm in my tracksuit era. Like I'm just loving hoodies and trackies and, you know, it's cold. But, you know, through summer I was in my caftan era, like wearing all these glamorous Camilla caftans. Before that, I was, when I was younger and in the Lady Gaga era, I was in a vest era. Like I'd wear tuxedo vests over everything. And I found like a vest to wear to school. Like I was a loser. So I have a lot of like eras and I get kind of hyper fixated, if we want to use that word, on a certain look and kind of like go through these chapters. But definitely exploring with like, I want to say, obviously clothing has no binary, but I want to say in quotations, female clothing. Like I actually don't shop online for men's clothes at all anymore. Like don't do that. I will only like purchase unisex if it's like this tracksuit that I'm wearing today as we're recording. This is a unisex tracksuit. Otherwise, it's from the women's curve section of the shop, just because that's what makes me feel comfortable. And yeah, like wearing dresses and things like that, it's really weird. It's been a big kind of like, even is still now a journey, trying to figure out, because, you know, I was also trying to figure out kind of whether I was trans as well, because I felt so comfortable in a dress. And I have settled, and I've never once in my life have I felt that I was trapped in the wrong body or that I wanted to have a different set of genitals or anything like that. Like I haven't, I want boobs, like they're fun, but like happy with like the body that I was born with. But my thing is like wearing dresses has kind of made me think, am I non-binary even, or gender fluid or anything? And look, I still haven't really landed on it. Right now I still just identify as a gay man, and that's what I am. But I really like to remind people that that can change. People can be trans, then they might not be trans. Maybe they will be forever. Maybe they'll transition into non-binary. Maybe they'll be gay, then they'll be bi, then they'll be, in this day and age, 2023, everything is so fluid and everything can change. And I think like, you know, when I first came out, like I think I first came out as bisexual, but then I just lied about that really. I was just gay. But I've gone through so many different, you know, all the demisexual and the asexual and everything. So many eras, babe. I'm in my Taylor Swift. I'm literally Taylor Swift. I'm in so many eras.
Love that for you.
It's ever evolving. So yes, the fashion definitely helps me kind of like find out who I am, but I'm also still figuring out who I am, and that's okay. And I hate when people go, "You've changed." I go, "Well, thank God."
Thank
you know?
God. Your Instagram bio states that you are Australia's biggest glamazon. What does that mean to you, and how did you decide to title yourself that?
I love that you've said, like, how did you decide to title yourself? Because, like, it really is. I've just pulled that out of my ass. Like,
I love it, as you should.
It's not an official title or anything. Look, when I was when I first came up with it, which was like now like 8 years ago or something, it was a play on words. Like, I was Australia's biggest glamazon, as in most famous, but also as in the biggest because I'm fat. So it was kind of like a double entendre, I think the word is. But glamazon actually has two kind of origins for me. Now, when I thought about that, it was because I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race at the time. And of course, RuPaul has made like the name glamazon really like a big thing. But this is so niche, and I don't know if I've ever told this story, so this is a Boldly Me exclusive right now. But when I was younger, there was a show on Channel 7, I think, which was called Gladiators, potentially. I think it was called Gladiators, and it was like average people would like verse these superhuman like bodybuilders and really strong people, and you could go on and try and like beat the gladiators, and there'd be these like challenges and stuff like that. That you would, and then you'd probably win money or something. I don't know. I can't remember. It was so long ago, but I was so young when this came out. And I had a fascination to two of the characters on there. One of them, their name was Amazon, and she was just fabulous and fierce and crazy. And then there was another one called Viper. And funnily enough, I was a drag queen pre-pandemic, and Viper was my drag name after her. And also because vipers are the laziest snakes. And I thought that was like, again, in my reputation era, and so Amazon, though, like, I remember saying, like, when I was younger, like, something along the lines of, like, that Amazon was my favorite, or, like, my mum or something, she had this, like, signature move that she did, and I would do it, and she'd be like, oh, you're so much like Amazon. But she was quite a tough-looking woman. Like, she was quite... Not harsh looking isn't the word, but she just was always angry and like really had like this like, and I was like, oh, I'm a bit softer than that. I'm a bit more glamorous than Amazon. I'm like a glamazon, So like, and then these days I owe RuPaul for reminding me of like bringing that word back into my life. But yeah, so that's where like Australia's biggest glamazon. I just kind of wanted a title. I just kind of wanted like something camp that was like, what I mean? And what's funny is like, I think I like wrote it as like an Instagram caption once originally when I was looking glam, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm Australia's biggest glamazon. And then people really ran with it and took it off. And that, I guess, is the power of social media. Is like, it was everybody else that kind of like made it a thing. And I was like, oh, I better adopt this now. And again, with like not fitting in or not ever having my like own like thing or niche or anything, like not that I try to put myself in a box, but I've never felt like I have like this thing. It became my thing, and now I find like so much comfort in it because I'm like, it's my thing and no one else can have it, and I'm so proud of that. You know what I mean? And now everyone introduces me as Australia's biggest glamazon, and no one bloody knows what it means, but I just love how iconic it is.
Though. It's so iconic. One of the things that you do is stand-up comedy, which honestly, hats off to you. That would terrify me. In an industry that has traditionally been dominated by cis het men, were you ever apprehensive about getting into doing live comedy?
No, because I didn't start like from the ground up, I guess. My first show we actually announced, and then the first lockdown happened and we had to cancel the first show. But then after the pandemic, like, I had obviously gone so viral and got a whole new audience and community that then when I announced my shows, like, we sold out 6 shows at Sydney Comedy Festival within like 24 hours, which is just unheard of. And like I was mind blown that I was selling out shows for my debut shows. And yeah, like, I remember selling out all the shows and I was like, shit, I don't even know what I'm going to say. Like,
you didn't have a script or anything?
No. Yeah, so, that process was really crazy. But I guess, like, if you're just like a comedian who kind of starts in the space, I guess you're going to like open mic nights, you're performing at pubs for free, you're doing all that sort of stuff, and you're kind of working your way up and networking and all that. The beauty of social media is I didn't have to do any of that. I just kind of like said, I've got shows, and people bought tickets. And so it was kind of a different journey for me. So I didn't feel like, but definitely when I'm there, the thing is I don't really relate to any of the comedians. I think like I was backstage at one of them, and like a variety show was on after my show that night. And I was just kind of like, oh, right. There was one I got on with because I actually love her. Her name's Beck Melrose. But I was like trying to make small talk with people and I was just like, we are like just not really clicking
vibe,
here.
yeah.
So I'm not really in the comedy or comedian space. Kind of just like doing my own thing over here. But really fun. I am taking a break this year because I feel like this year's been quite a roller coaster ride. Lots of trauma for me this year, Joel. There's been lots going on. And I was like, I just can't really commit to giving it my all. And I believe like if you're not going to give it 100%, like take a break and do it when you can. So, yeah, we're revisiting next year and we'll come back with a bigger and better show. But I mean, every show I've done has been so incredible and I love it. It's so scary. Like it's horrifying. The very first show I did, I had a couple drinks to take the edge off, and then I realized that like drinking made me really hot on stage.
Oh.
And so my makeup was melting off. Like I'm talking mascara running down my eyes. Like if you were at that first show, you got a show unlike any other because I'm such a perfectionist that like the next night I was like, right, we're changing the makeup. We're not drinking anything. We're blah, blah, blah. And so I actually do all my shows sober now. I mean, at the moment I'm alcohol free anyway and have been for like 120 days, patting myself on the back because I freaking love a wine base. But at the moment I'm on this year of health journey. So we're just trying to like, you know, do healthier things and just have a better sleeping pattern and just do more things for the soul. It's not about, you know, changing anything or build, you know, getting muscles and whatever. Couldn't care less, but I'm very happy with who I am and very happy with my body and everything. But it's just about like feeling good from the inside out. And so one of those things has been quitting alcohol. But I don't drink before my shows because I become a sweaty frog and it's awful.
I love what you said though about how not doing something if you're not going to give it 100%. And I think that's actually such a beautiful thing for people to start putting into practice. And not even from a like, oh, don't do it if you're not going to do it well sort of thing, but just like we live in such a capitalistic society which always tells us that we have to be on. And it's something that I'm still learning myself to go, because I've got so many incredible opportunities that are always in front of me and I'm so scared of letting them pass me by, and I end up not doing them as well as I want to because I'm so tired and I'm so burnt out. And I think learning that it's okay to go, you know what, I'm allowed to just exist as a human that doesn't hold capitalistic value for a day. I'm allowed to do that and I'm allowed to not constantly be on. And I think that's such an important thing for everyone to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I am like the spokesperson for like taking a break. Like, I'll take a break when, like, literally whenever. I actually wish there was, like, a little cafe halfway through Coles so I could sit down and have a coffee before I, you know, finish the rest of my groceries.
I love that for you. Honestly, iconic.
I'm the queen of, like, taking a rest when you need to. Because, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, if you don't, you actually just put out things at, like, 50% or 25%. And then you're going to end up with no opportunities because you're shit. So you have to reserve that energy. And I'm really good at, you know, saying no and not doing things I don't want to do and all that sort of stuff. Because, yeah, for me, I love and care about everyone in my life, and this isn't in like a conceited way, but like I come first no matter who you are,
important.
And I will always come first. And like that's like one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is like you got to put yourself first, otherwise you just struggle with everything. But not in a mean way, not in like I'm better than everyone.
No, but the fact that you're like the fact that you even have to like reiterate like, oh, I'm not saying that in a mean way, like showcases the sort of society that we live in. Like you should be putting yourself first. You are you. You should be putting your mental health and your mind first. As long as it's not the sake of someone else's safety, you should always be putting yourself first. That is such an important lesson to teach people. And the fact that you know that is like, I need to take a lesson from your book, man, because that's like, I think everyone should learn that more. I think everyone needs to start putting themselves first just that little bit more when it comes to their mental health, when it comes to their safety, when it comes to the workload that they're putting on. I think it's so important to start putting yourself first. You've got a new podcast out with Nova called High Scrollers. Tell me about it. Spill the tea.
It's called High Scrollers. It's basically myself and my really good friend, Brittany Lee Saunders. She's an OG YouTuber, now like CEO extraordinaire to a huge fashion house called Fate the Label. And she and I have been friends for 10 years. And we really have kept our relationship kind of off social media. We became friends organically. We just met. We were working in the same place at the same time. And we hit it off, became friends. I think this was even before she started her social media, and then I started a few years later. And but we kept most of it separate because I also never wanted to really be like a leech and feel like I was that person trying to get followers or anything like that. And also the other thing is, when we hang out with each other, we just genuinely have such a good time that it doesn't go on social media because we're pissing ourselves laughing and we're too busy having fun because we actually have this genuine, real friendship. And so this is the first time we're kind of letting people into our lives, and I guess our group chat in a way, because our group chat is so chaotic and almost different to how we are day to day online. We're just so rogue and so chaotic. And so it's kind of lifting the curtain there, but primarily it's a pop culture entertainment podcast. So we're talking about trending topics. We're talking about, if it's trending, we're talking about it on the podcast. If it's going viral on TikTok, we're talking about it on the podcast, giving our thoughts and opinions. I mean, I've built my audience, and so has Brittany, on giving our raw, honest opinions and not giving a shit what anyone thinks about them, and sometimes getting in trouble for our opinions and things like that. So people listen to us and follow us because they actually care about our voice, which again is one of the best things. I said on my Instagram story the other day, that's one of the best things about I've been teasing this podcast. I told my audience that a new podcast was coming, and they were so excited. And I actually had this moment on my Instagram story, which was kind of emotional, but I was going back to in high school, no one wanted to hear my voice. No one cared about my voice, and no one I literally was told to shut up, and no one cares about you, and all you'll never amount to anything, blah, 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 blah. And so for people, literally thousands of people tapping this kind of notification bell thing to let them know when the podcast was going live, I just had to say to them, I thank you so much for actually wanting to listen to my voice, because it's something that, and it took until now to realize that it's so important to me to be heard, because I wasn't for so long and so many years in my life. So I'm really excited. So it's called High Scrollers. You can listen anywhere you get your podcasts. It's live right now. And it's honestly, our first episode was an absolute banger. We really were, had to stop recording and just go to the toilet to wee because it was so funny. And yeah, I mean, it's everything I wanted and more in a podcast, and I hope everybody loves it.
Yay, that's so exciting. I can't wait to listen to it. Matt, it has been so much fun talking to you. Before we wrap up, each episode, I ask my guests the Boldly Me 3, which are 3 quick questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first question is, what is one song that never fails to make you feel happy?
The Cure by Lady Gaga.
Love. Amazing.
Yeah, it's my favourite song by her.
Perfect. Good hype song. Number 2 is, what is one piece of advice that you would give your 13-year-old self?
Everything in life is either a blessing or a lesson.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I think you can learn, either it's a good thing or you learn something from the experience. So nothing is ever negative to me.
Nothing
you
is
just
pointless.
got to keep this positive attitude, which I know sounds naff, but at the end of the day, even if you have a shit time, at least you learned something.
No, I love that. I have this mirror at home that I write all of my little positive affirmations that I need to remember. That is going on it.
Yeah, slay.
Slay. My third question is, if you could be any Disney character, who would you be?
Oh, jeez. That's such a hard one. I feel I'd love to be Donald Duck, okay?
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Donald Duck, because he's actually my favourite Disney character.
Okay, I see that. I love it.
But I think because Donald Duck, although isn't the main character, gives main character energy.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. Yeah,
so Mickey Mouse is obviously the king of the castle. But Donald's still in the limelight because he's so fabulous. No, I love that.
That's so valid, actually. Whenever I ask this question to people, I'm always I try to guess who they would be before they do.
What did you guess for me?
Well, my initial thought was Olaf, and then you said Donald, and I went, actually, no, that's the right answer. It's been so much fun talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining me, Matt.
I have loved every second, doll. Thank you for having me.
What an incredible chat with Matt. He is so much fun. He is so full of light. He is so wonderful. Guys, make sure to go out and check all of Matt's social media. Go and check his new podcast, High Scrollers, when you get a chance, wherever you get your podcast. I personally, for one, am very, very excited to listen to it. And guys, thank you so much for listening to Boldly Me. This was the last episode of season 1. What the heck? This was such a journey. This was so exciting. I feel like I've learned so much, both like in a career sense of like how to be a podcast host, but also like I've learned so much more about myself. I feel like I'm able to hold myself in my personal conversations more. I feel like I'm able to hold myself with my friends and with my colleagues and with the people I speak to more. I feel like I've learned so much more about how to be a functioning human in society, which is a double win for me. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode and to this season of Boldly Me. If you liked what you heard, make sure to rate and review the show on your podcast app if it lets you. Let a friend know. Most importantly, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, do whatever makes you feel happy, and I will hopefully, fingers crossed, all limbs crossed, see you for season 2. Bye for now, not forever. Goodbye.